but I think everyone should be doing a deadlift in some respect because you're lifting something off the ground. You should be able to do a deadlift properly. Ren, question fam. Re-deadlifts. Does it matter whether you use a bar, dumbbells, kettlebells, etc.? Is any more beneficial than the other, or is the only difference how the weight is distributed? Well, sure. I mean, the distribution of the weight is everything, which affects which one's more beneficial for which muscle groups and so forth. So it does matter, but at the same time, it does, but it doesn't. So one of the beautiful things about a deadlift is that it's one of the most functional, when I say functional, one of the most fundamental things that you can do as a human being, which is picking something off the fucking ground. So it's extremely important that you should be training this movement, but of course it depends on what you have access to. So I don't have a barbell here. So I actually have I have kettlebells. So I actually have a couple more kettlebells on the way. I have kettlebells up to 100. I'm actually getting 125 and 150. Some fucking big boys coming in. Some big boys for some fucking swings. I'm just going to curl that shit. But also deadlifts. So if you have a heavy kettlebell, you could do one-hand deadlifts. You could do suitcase deadlifts. You could do deadlifts with dumbbells. But one of the fundamental things from a barbell standpoint is that it's universal. It's standardized. That's why bumper plates and metal plates are all the same size. So you can start from a standardized height. But that can be negative. That could be a detriment to some people based on your arm length and your hip mobility, your leg length. So some people's bodies are very, very optimized. They have shorter limbs or shorter legs and longer arms. That's ideal for a deadlift because you have less range to travel with your legs. You have less sticking point. You can get from a more upright position. You can get into more mechanically advantageous position. So that's why you have different styles of deadlifting. You have conventional, you have sumo, you have overhand, you have closed grip, you have different styles of deadlifting. But they're very, very different. Whenever I did deadlifts, I always classically did conventional. But I think a lot of people focus too much on the amount of weight that they're doing for deadlifts and less on the form. And I think things like deficit deadlifts and all that stuff are great, but people tend to try to go too heavy all the time because you watch too many Instagram videos and too many people that are fucking lifting a shitload of weight. Some people are just freakishly strong when it comes to a deadlift. Seriously, some people are freakishly strong when it comes to deadlifts. And I've seen this I see this a lot popping up. I see this a lot popping up on my YouTube. When I open it up, I'll see this guy who looks like he barely even lifts. And this guy is fucking doing 800 pounds for a deadlift. I'm like, how is this person that doesn't look like they even go into the gym deadlift? It's insane. Some people are just fucking strong with that one movement. But, it's one of those movements that you have a nice base, but, it's great for muscle growth. It's great for glute. It's great for glutes. It's great for back if you do it properly. But most people have shitty form for deadlifts. So personally, if I do a deadlift, with a barbell, it's conventional all the way. Otherwise, it's not really. I never did sumos. I thought that was kind of. I thought that I still to this day like sumo deadlifts. I'm like, you're just limiting. That's like one of those benches where you're arched all the way and you like rep like 3 inches. A sumo deadlift. It's not as hard. It's not as hard as a conventional. It just isn't. Like you just get so much more leverage. You're so much more upright. It's just, I feel like you're missing the meat of the deadlift. But it's a great move. And that's why I like kettlebell so much. Kettlebell swings are fantastic. Kettlebell swings, snatches, cleans, they're so great. They're so dynamic. And I think you'll actually get a lot more benefit from doing stuff with kettlebells than you will with a barbell for a deadlift. It restricts a lot of people and it needs to be idealized for you or optimized for you as an individual. And a lot of people just try to do it off the ground and they shouldn't. They should be using blocks or they should be changing their stance up a little bit. But, if you're not a fitness expert or you have a lot of experience or you have someone who knows what they're doing watching you, you might be banging your head against a wall. You might be heading down a path where you're eventually going to hurt yourself. So it definitely matters how you grip. And, if you're doing, for example, let's say a kettlebell deadlift and you have a bigger kettlebell, the bar is going to be thicker. The handle is going to be thicker. So it's going to work your grip strength more. So it depends on why you're doing a deadlift. All right. But I think everyone should be doing a deadlift in some respect because you're lifting something off the ground. You should be able to do a deadlift properly. Whether you try to go as heavy as possible, whether deadlifts are the most important thing that you do, that's a whole other story. But I definitely up until I stopped going to the gym, deadlifts were always a staple. So I'm not knocking deadlifts at all. Deadlifts are fantastic, but there's many different styles. Fundamentally, you just need to have good form. I would practice a bunch of them and see what works best for you.